This episode is brought to you in partnership with Shepherd Pratt, the nation's largest private nonprofit provider of mental health, substance use, special education, developmental disability, and social services. I don't know about you, but during the Olympics, I love watching the parents in the stands almost as much as I enjoy the competition. Imagine watching your child spend their entire life training at an elite level to reach the pinnacle of competition. That's why my heart immediately went out to the parents of Olympic gymnast Jordan Chiles when we were all shocked to see the bronze medal she had been awarded at the Paris Olympics taken away soon after. This family has been on such a roller coaster, and Gina Chiles was so gracious to spend some time with me to share about the journey, how she's helped keep Jordan encouraged at one of the lowest points of her young life, and we talk about all of the doors that have now opened for her daughter. Enjoy my conversation with Gina Chiles. I've been really excited to get to talk to you. I have been living somewhat vicariously through you because since you guys got back from Paris, I cannot believe all the opportunities and the doors that have opened for you guys. Tell me about what have been some of the highlights for you.
Well, that's a great question. I'm probably going to say the New York Fashion Week was probably only because it's something that Jordan talked about since she was younger. She was like, I want to, she wanted to do something that 5 feet tall women generally can't do, and that is walk in the New York Fashion Week show. And so I think for every short girl out there, Jordan was like literally living their dream, and so it's something she talked about. And like as a parent, at least the way we parent, we told them they can do anything that they set their mind out to do, even if you kind of chuckle a little bit in the back, like, yeah, Jordan, I don't know if that actually is going to happen for you, but believe it, believe it. And so to actually watch her walk, and then she owned it. Like, it wasn't like just regular, like I just showed up, but she owned that catwalk. That was
She
a pretty
did.
cool
It looked like
moment to.
she'd been doing that her whole life. I mean, her confidence, the confidence that she exudes is pretty remarkable. And I'm assuming that didn't, that you've helped to nurture that confidence in her as well.
Yeah, I don't think I have one kid that isn't very confident. Usually there's one in the mix that is like the quiet one. But yeah, they're very confident. Kids, one of the things that we did, they're whole grown humans now. I mean, they're adults and I still call them kids, so forgive me. But
No,
I'm a mom.
absolutely.
I'm a mom forever.
Yeah,
So
they're still our babies, if you ask me.
yes, I still am like, that's my baby girl. They probably are like, Mom, like I am grown with kids myself. But yeah, the crazy like thing of it is like when they were young, we told them like, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that tell you no. There's going to be so many people that tell you no, and you have to know that if it's something that you desire and you want on the inside, you have to be strong enough to be able to kind of push past all of that no. And I think it just helped with their confidence because when you get told no a lot, it kind of it can break you down. And when you push past it, it builds you up. So that very, very confident. Jordan is probably next level confident because she has the most eyes on her all the time, which would freak most people out. But she kind of, I don't know. She gets hyped. The bigger the crowd, the more hype Jordan gets.
Yeah, the bigger the stage, right? I mean, all of these stages that she's been on lately, whether it's throwing out the first pitch at, a Major League Baseball game or certainly on the VMA stage. Did you get to be there for that?
No, so there's some things that I go to and some things that I don't. I was there in New York watching it on TV, but some of the way some of these things work is that you have like a +1, sometimes a +2, and I think for like the VMAs, I'm not as familiar with the art with the artists. It probably wouldn't be my thing, except for, of course, they had Flava Flav, LL Cool J. I mean, all of the things during. I did miss out, I guess, on that. But there's some things that I think are just reserved for Jordan and someone who can appreciate it. So
Yes.
yeah, and plus we want her to go with somebody who can lead her and tell her, what she could do. That is not me, not in that environment. Like other environments, yes, but I wouldn't know what to tell her walking a red carpet at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, exactly. There's some things a mom is an expert in, and others, there might need someone else to fill in, right? So you're in New York, you're watching the VMAs. What did you think when Flavor Flav started, just all the accolades on your daughter?
Right from the very, very beginning, I was already choked up because, like, I'm searching for her before the show even starts. They have like a pre-show where they show like everybody walking in, and um, the sometimes they would be interviewed. So like I was like stalking the screen trying to see if I could see her. So like, I'm waiting and already like nervous for her because she's never done anything like that, and it's kind of a big scale. She was I knew she was going to be presenting with Flav about maybe a week or a couple weeks, maybe a week before. And so that was kind of an exciting thing because he had been super supportive
Yes.
of women's sports in general, but of Jordan. And so we were happy about that. And so when I watched him walk out on stage, I was like, there is no way that is Jordan like walking with Flav on the VMA stage. As Jordan with that big old smile. And as soon as I saw the smile, I was like, I don't know, it was very healing in a way to me because
Mm,
she was living out a non-gymnastics dream, something she had wanted to do, which is equally important. And so then I'm like, okay, I know she had rehearsed with him in the back, and they had whatever they were supposed to say, but Flavor went off script,
yes, he did.
and then he pulled the bronze medal out of his jacket and presented her with it, and to hear the cheers of the crowd and the support and the love, it was beautiful. It was
Mm,
so funny. And then he pulls a cap out and he's like forever going to be supporting the women's water polo, which deserves all of the love. And then he just kept going, and you could see Jordan. She's a gymnast, right? So gymnasts are very cue oriented, like very cue oriented. And so you could see Jordan, like as a parent, I'm looking and I could see in her eyes, she wants this thing to kind of get back on track because she was given a job. And gymnasts, when they're given a job, by all means, no matter what is happening around them, people cheering, standing O's, whatever it is, Flav, standing next to you, Jordan is determined to bring this back on track because that's what they do. And so watching her, uh, lead everything back and try to get things going, I thought was pretty fantastic. And then, of course, with how everything went, Jordan then announced Taylor Swift and then Post Malone, and to watch Taylor go up, on stage and hug her, I'm already crying because I'm just like in that moment. It was a beautiful moment. It was very sincere. Flava was, I appreciate people who are authentic, and he's a
mm,
hundred
mhm.
billion percent authentic. And in that moment, he could care less. He was just as excited to be there with Jordan, and so see her, hugging Taylor Swift and Post Malone, and then standing there and watching her out on the stage. I'm like, she really seemed like she had done it before. She was
Yeah.
super natural, and I don't know. I was very, very proud. Still very proud of her in that moment. It was cool.
You mentioned how much it meant to you for someone like Flav to, just really support her. But whether it's been the neighbors, family members, really high profile people that have come out to say, what they believe about the way Jordan was treated at the end with the results and everything being overturned. What does that mean to you as a mom to see so many people supporting your daughter?
Yeah, that, I mean, it means the world, right? Because as a parent, as a mom in general, it is like so hard to see your kids go through difficult times, whether it's this, and Jordan has had several difficult moments in her career. She's been doing this for 16 years. And gymnastics is hard. It is very hard, and it's very hard on your heart. And so, when you see the difficulty and you see negativity that is thrown out there, and it's pointed at your daughter as a mom, I'm a fighter, so like it is so hard to remain silent in those moments when you just want to scream at the top of your lungs. Like, you have no idea how beautiful of a human this is. So to see everyone kind of, just support her, cheer for her. I think the first moment was we were at the New York Liberty game. And first of all, being at the WNBA game and it being the New York Liberty was pretty cool. Ellie, the mascot, is kind of a is kind of famous herself, but when they announced her, they did like this big thing and they announced her name. Again, this is the very first experience, and to see everybody just cheering and a standing ovation. I mean, it was insanely loud in there. It was beautiful. It just touches your heart, and of course, like, I bawled like a baby, like I cried. So, yeah, it's so important and so beautiful. That's probably been the biggest healing part of everything. And it's just kind of across the board, right? I think we felt the same, level of like thankfulness, gratefulness, whatever you want to call it. Right at the Tokyo U.S. Olympic trials, going back a few years, it was the U.S. trials, the very first time that Jordan had been to one, and that this was the possibility of her dream coming true. She had finished her floor routine, and of course, like, we lost it because we knew at that point, like, Jordan had hit everything and she'd done everything she could, regardless of the outcome, because you can't, control what we always tell Jordan. You can't control the uncontrollables, and I don't even know if that's a word, but that is what we're doing,
Right.
and that's what we're saying. But and so we knew she had done everything to that point, and hearing the roar of the crowd and realizing in that moment that it's just not you that that's pushing and cheering for your kid, but that you have, I think there was like 20,000 plus people in that arena, um, also cheering for your daughter. That was like that moment was the first moment where we really felt like the support and the love. And then of course, now everywhere she goes, um, we we are recognized, which that is super strange. And I say we, I mean me and her dad. we were we were on the screen a little bit. I
A
don't know if you
little
saw,
bit,
but
yeah, you were. It was so fun. I have, as a mom, I have as much fun watching the parents in the stands at the Olympics as the athletes.
it was so stressful and crazy, and then knowing that like your face is going to be on there, and I tried to be so normal, and it's impossible, but people coming up to us now because they know who we are in a store and just tell us, we love your daughter,
Aw.
she's such a bright light, like she's incredible, you raised such a beautiful human. Like,
Mm.
those moments are very special to us because one thing we had told Jordan as she was kind of going along this elite journey, this elite gymnastics journey, is there'd be times where you would see like traits that were coming out of your kid that you're like, we're not going to go there, we're not going to do that. And we'd always tell her, to raise a good we want to raise a good kid, and a good gymnast is secondary to that. So so yeah, to be able to hear that people see the beauty in Jordan is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I want you to talk to me just kind of from a mother's heart about how you've encouraged your daughter through all of this emotionally. I know that you have been her rock through the ups and the downs, and there's been a lot of highs, but the lows have been really low lows.
One of the things that we didn't know, kind of getting into elite gymnastics, was how everybody focuses on if you physically can do things. And one of the things that they don't really ever talk about or tell you about, at least early on, was how you deal with things mentally. Jordan, when she got into elite gymnastics, she was 7 years old, and we just did it for recreational purposes. We had like no intent um, on it being a career, never even thought about it at all. It was literally just to get her energy out. And as we learned, as she progressed very, very fast. And so her body was able to do all of these incredible things. And what we failed to realize is that her mind, her mental and emotional state may have not been as ready as her body. People were looking at her physical state, like saying, wow, she can do all of these beautiful, amazing things. Meanwhile, internally, she was struggling with the requirements of an elite sport. And we weren't really seeing or acknowledging that because she wasn't communicating it. And also, it seemed like she was fine because everything, like her performance was good. And so we just continued to kind of, just move at whatever pace she was moving at. And we soon realized that emotionally, mentally, she was struggling. I would say in 2017, Jordan had hit a very, it was a unsure path. Things were a little bit crazy. She had separated from a long time coach and wasn't really wanting to move. So, she was kind of coaching herself. We got an an interim coach at that time. And during that process, she kind of seemed like she was thriving. And again, we're going off of how it appeared and not really knowing what emotional, distress she was under. I mean, she started to really struggle. So 2018 was a very, very tough year.
Okay, ladies, can we talk about the Barefaced toning pads? They are my very favorite product of the Barefaced skincare line. I use them morning and night to brighten and tighten my skin, unclog pores, and boost the effects of the other Barefaced products I use. These skin smoothing pads are packed with acids, antioxidants, and hydrating ingredients to tackle dullness, rough texture, and breakouts. A lot of my friends also purchase these for their teenagers who deal with breakouts. You can use our code MOMMA15 at checkout and you will receive 15% off your first purchase of toning pads or any of the other results-driven medical-grade skincare products offered at barefaced.com. I love hearing from those of you who have tried and love the Coat Defense Daily Preventative Powder that we use on Tucker, our golden retriever. There is nothing like this product in the stores, and let me tell you, it works. It truly is a game changer when it comes to keeping his coat clean and fresh. This powder acts as a dry shampoo on Tucker, and it repels dirt and eliminates odor. He stays cleaner and fresher, and I'm a happier dog mom thanks to Coat Defense. Try it out and let me know what you think. You can visit coatdefense.com and receive 15% off your purchase with the code MOMMA15.
We were doing everything we could to support her. And in 2018, she had hit probably, I would say, the most difficult time in her career. All we could do was just tell her that we loved her, that we support her, because one thing I think that parents do sometimes is act as if we know where they're coming from. And if you've not been, I'm not an international elite gymnast. I've never been to that level. It's kind of like a falsehood. I don't know exactly what you're enduring. I can only guess. And so we had to be very careful with how we structured what we were saying. So we can't, come at and tell her, hey, we know what you're going through, even though that is a natural response. Because I don't know, but we would say, we don't, I don't want to claim that we know what you're feeling right now, but what can we do to help you get through this time? We reached out to sports psychologists to try to, help her through those times. At that time, she wasn't very interested in talking with anyone outside of, like family members. But we knew she needed it. We knew it was something that would be helpful because you can talk to us, but we think it would be helpful for you to kind of unpack everything that you've been feeling. And so watching, your daughter who's worked very hard to get where she is struggle is hard. I mean, it's hard with any of your kids. Like, it doesn't matter if, with Jordan, she, of course, she's an elite athlete, but with any of, our kids, watching them struggle is hard. And I'm a fixer. I want to, like, make everything right and fix everything. And so it's particularly hard on me because I want I want to fix it. I want to make it right. And sometimes you just have to sit back and allow them to go through everything.
Right. I think that a lot of times we hear about taking care of our kids' mental health, but I mean, this was a journey for you as well. I know this has had to be extremely hard on you and your husband as well.
Absolutely, right? Because, from a parent's perspective, um, you want everything to go perfectly, you want everything to go perfect for your kids. Like, you want to be able to, always be there to help them through every moment. And, the reality is you can't always do that. And it's hard because you're like, no, I have this, we have it, you can do this. Like, we're a very close knit family, and we just had to sit back and allow Jordan to lead us through the process.
So, will you go back and tell me the story? Of course, I've only read this, so if it's not true, correct me. But I understand that the gymnastics thing started when you left her alone with your husband for about a week, and he was like, okay, this child's a monkey. What are we going to do with her? Let's put her in gymnastics.
Yeah, well, actually, the way so yes, the way Jordan got into gymnastics, because she was, my goal or hope for her was that she would fall in love with track and field.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was
Because you're a
I was
sports
entering.
fan, right? You
Yeah,
love
they're a
sports.
huge sports, like huge sports fan. The Olympics were like a must in the household. Like, we're not going anywhere. This is what we're doing. But yeah,
Wow.
definitely. All of the kids. I just felt like, if you're gonna do something, find the thing that you love and just kind of stick with it. And all of the kids did some level of sport, and they most of it were the traditional sports, right? Track, basketball, the boys football. Actually, my girls also played football, and track and field was the sport that two of my girls at the time were really excelling in. And so I would enter Jordan into track little, like, they would have, you would pay $2 and your kid could run against other kids that were within the same age range. And Jordan was beating, like, she was 4 years old and she was beating 7-year old. So I was like, yeah, we're about to, have this trackster. But she was never on her feet. She was always flipping around and very, very, very hyperactive, extremely. And, this is the baby of 5. So, we knew that her level of activity was excessive. It was crazy. And people would see her and just always ask us, how long has she been in gymnastics? And we're like, she's not in gymnastics, because she would be handstands, cartwheels, like, doing everything. She was a lot. She was a lot, and we wanted to be able to give her outlet. People were like, "You should get her into gymnastics," and they told us of a place that was around the corner, and we just were like, "Oh, that sounds nice," but wasn't anything that was on our radar. And so I had went out for a business trip. I was gone for a week, and my husband had all of the kids, but Jordan in particular, because she's the baby. There's a big gap between her and the others, and she's 6.5 years old. She's full of energy, and when he came to pick me up from the airport, like, he was like, "Hi, it's great to see you. I love you. Hey, do you think we should put some thought into what people have been saying about Jordan getting into gymnastics?" I was looking at his face like, whoa, it must have been quite intense. And so we left from the airport directly to the gymnastics facility and talked to them and signed her up for classes. It was like rec classes for 2 days. And so that's how she got into gymnastics. Gymnastics absolutely focused her energy, and she always says it saved her life. I think that's a huge extreme statement, but that is how she feels. But it gave her an outlet.
What is the emotional toll on her been since all of the stripping of the medal and the appeals and the decisions? What do you see in her as a mom that worries you?
I'm not going to get into any of the specifics about like that situation at all because everything is still ongoing. But you know, that was a very difficult situation to endure as an adult who has had twice the life that Jordan has had, to experience different crazy things, make mistakes, grow from them, like all of that. To watch her go through that was very hard because Jordan has always been a fighter. She's always had to fight, whether she's wanted to or not. I mean, the sport, like I said, is very difficult. There are things within the way things are supposed to be in gymnastics that Jordan has had to fight through. Like her body image, the way she wears her hair, like everything has always been a point of contention within the gymnastics world, and it maybe not as a whole, but just like even individuals that have been in the sport for a long time who don't view people who look like Jordan in the same light. And so she's had to battle a lot of that. So we thought this situation was, it's a very impossible situation to comprehend. It really is. But we knew she had it in her to work through it. We just didn't know how hard it was going to be for her to get there and how silent we had to remain to allow her to experience every emotion. That was the hardest part, right? Because she's entitled to every feeling she's having in those moments. But as a mom, you want to take away all of the negative ones and just only focus on all of everything positive. And we just had to let her navigate that and on her own, which was super hard. And that doesn't mean we weren't being encouraging or supportive. It's just that we couldn't fix it. We couldn't fix how she was feeling. We could, we could see, like we could be angry or hurt about things. But we had to make sure that we weren't, putting our burden and our hurt and our pain and compiling onto what she was already feeling. So we just had to be very careful with allowing her to feel what she was feeling in those moments, even if you're like, you got this, and we want to be the cheerleader and we want to push the process or make it happen faster. Like as a parent, you're like, let's get past this, let's just go on to the next, look at all the beauty that's happening in the around you. And I think that we sometimes take away like the necessary steps that they have to go through when they're feeling these crazy feelings. And so, yeah, we've been being silent in moments that we want to say something, and just kind of bite your tongue and let things ride the way that they're riding is I think that is really key. And Jordan is probably one of the most beautiful souls that you would meet. She's a genuine person. She is 23. She's got all of the desires of a 23-year-old and the crazy
Yes, I
things
have
she
one of those.
wants to do.
Yeah.
You're like, Jordan, you really need to get another tattoo? I mean, like, really? Another one? Like right now? You had to go get 3. So yeah, that she's 23 years old, so she's gonna have even just those regular emotions, and to compile it with something so difficult, it is, we've had to just be very careful to allow Jordan to experience whatever it is she's experiencing without telling her much of anything, to be honest.
I think that there's so much wisdom in what you're saying, though, for, of course, your situation is very unique. Not every mom's going to walk that journey with their child, but we're all going to walk or have walked very difficult days. And so your wisdom in the importance of being silent and not trying to get in there and fix it, which is our natural nature as a mom, I think there's so much wisdom in that to share with other moms.
We've had each of them have their own, situations that they're dealing with, and you have to parent them different. And when you have an elite athlete, when you have someone that's in Jordan's position who has eyes on her at all times, you're very, very hypersensitive to everything, right? One 23-year-old statement, because those things happen, right? They don't know every single thing in life, and one little thing could set, the entire world off at this moment because all eyes are on her. And so it's very, very, very a different parenting that you have to go through. But as far as the emotional level and the situation, it is the hardest to allow Jordan to experience every emotion without telling her, you got this. It's okay. It's going to be okay. We know all of those things, and so does she. She just doesn't need to hear it every 5 seconds from us. She needs to be able to feel sad or happy or whatever it is.
But there's so much credit to give you. I mean, Mom, you picked up your life, moved her to Texas to be able to work out and train at the place that you knew or she felt would be the best for her career, and it has been. But I mean, that was a big deal for you to pick up and make that sacrifice for Jordan.
Yeah, so it's a crazy scenario. Like I said, in 2017, everything kind of changed. In 2018, Jordan was facing in her own, like, we didn't know Jordan wasn't really going to gym because she's old enough to drive herself, all of those things. We didn't know she wasn't spending as much time in the gym as she normally did. She was, going to the mall and kicking it and doing different things. So we didn't know that she was separating herself from gymnastics because Jordan couldn't really see gymnastics without seeing the hurt and the emotional pain that she experienced over several years. And so in 2018, she was kind of just going through the motions. And so by the time she got to US championships, it didn't go the way that she wanted to, and she was even more hurt. As a matter of fact, like, I think Jordan did well in the eyes of other people. She did well. Like, she still was one of the top athletes, but she didn't do what Jordan normally does, and she was very, very broken after US championships. She still got an invite to world championships, and so when she was there, I'm sure she was sharing about how she didn't know if she was going to, even continue for her Olympic dream, or if she was just going to go to college or even do gymnastics in college. I mean, she had a lot on her mind. And at the World Championships camp, before they, make a decision on team, she had a conversation with Simone and Simone Biles. And so Simone and her talked, and Simone is so very helpful in this situation, and has helped Jordan heal in so many ways. She told her, you don't owe gymnastics a thing. You've won enough gold medals and medals in general for the US. You've had an amazing career. You've been doing this forever. So if you walked away from the sport right now, there would be no, you still had an amazing career, and if that's what you want to do. She said, but I believe that if you want to and you want to continue, I want you to come and train with me, because Simone saw things in her that that she felt her coaching staff being in that type of gym around other elite gymnasts, because Jordan was the only one in the entire region at that time. So being the only one training to that level was hard. Jordan, I don't know, I think she was probably nervous or afraid to, like, bring it up. So she waited till there was 8 billion people in the room, and they, like, it was like such a crazy time to come and say, Mom, I need to talk to you and Dad. Like it just didn't match. Like we've had like strangers and people and like everything. And I, I'm busy and I'm like trying to, it was a customer service type thing. It was a Christmas event. And so we're like all like dressed like, I can't even tell you, we're dressed like, I think Jordan was like dressed like a reindeer, like in a reindeer outfit. And like, it was just the most crazy, weird time to choose to have this conversation. But I think she was like, if I do it now, I don't know what she was thinking, to be honest. But so she came up, she was like, can I talk to you? And we were like, yes, Jordan, what's up? And she was like, look, I want to continue my dream of the Olympics, but I can't do it here. She said, I need to move. I need to go. I need to train. And then she had mentioned Simone's gym. We were very planted. And so I think she thought like this is an impossible ask, but my husband, right away, he just looked at me. He was like, we've done every single thing that we could for every one of these kids. It would be unfair for us not to do it for Jordan just because her request is this big. What she wants to do is this big. So he said if this was, Jasmine or Tajman, Jade or Tyrus, and they asked us for something, we did it. We did everything we could. And if this is what she's asking, he was like, we'll make it work. And I was 100% on board because if she didn't ask for many things in the gymnastics world. Like she asked for everything else, a puppy, like all of that. But like in gymnastics career, she just wasn't really one that was asking for things. And so, she asked us and we told her we would figure it out. And that's what we did. And so for my husband, I went with Jordan. We lived very close. We went to WCC, which is where she trains, and we picked a apartment that was as close as possible because I've never been there, and by that she had one request, is that she would graduate high school with her class. We made sure that Jordan was in public school because she was just too social. Like the normal way for international elite gymnasts is to be homeschooled, and we just knew she wouldn't thrive in that environment at all. And so it was very hard, very, very hard, but she went to public school. So like a couple days after she graduated from high school, we packed up and they shipped me off to Texas. We're here. We're Texans now.
Yes, you are. And I'm sure every time you see her shine in that routine, not a bit of you ever regret that decision to sacrifice that.
Ever. Yeah. It was exactly the right move. There's not a person that's going to argue that Simone is the greatest of all time. And having that to shoot for, it just made Jordan better. And I like to say that Jordan sharpened Simone because, Jordan is competitive, so she'll push. She was around a group of girls that were doing the same thing. It was a healthy environment. So feeling comfortable with what was happening and seeing coaches that advocate for you and new friends, and a great training environment. It was so beautiful to watch Jordan go. You could see it happen immediately. Her personality that had been dimmed was huge again, and then it just kind of increased from there.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, 2 quick things, and then I'm going to let you go. Number 1, is it true that Jordan was named after Michael Jordan because he's your favorite?
Yes.
Oh, you're wearing the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, is that a Space Jam t-shirt?
I'm embarrassed now.
No, yes, it's awesome. All I saw was Jordan. I assumed it was your daughter.
No, Michael Jordan.
I love it.
Yeah. So the truth, so yes, that is absolutely true. Jordan, we had a very difficult time having Jordan. We weren't trying to have such a huge gap, 6 years with the, between the kids. and we just had a difficult time. And I had many lost pregnancies, and even was pregnant with twins, and made it to 5 months and lost them both. So it was a very difficult time. And so we had basically were like, okay, you know, we're just not going to, this isn't going to happen for us, and we're just not going to devastate ourselves over and over again. And my husband, from the kid number one, was like, there's not going to be a Michael, there's not going to be a Jordan, there's not going to be a like anything like that. And it's because like I'm a huge sports fanatic. Like I love sports, like all sports. I watch golf, I love tennis, like I love sports. And
You must be
so
in
of
heaven
course,
when you're at the Olympics.
yes, like huge. I was like, God, were you considering me? No, like, when this
Yes, he
happened, like,
was.
who would have thought? Who would have thought? And so, yeah. So with that, you know, he was the greatest of all time. But because we had such a hard time when we were finally like pregnant with Jordan, we didn't tell anyone. We didn't say much because, you know, we didn't know. We didn't know if it was going to. And so, so when we knew at that point that she was healthy and she was going to make it, my husband was like, "You can name her whatever you want," and I was like, "Jordan. Her name will be Jordan." So yeah, she was named after my
Well, now let me just say that there might be young girls now named after your Jordan as opposed to Michael Jordan, because she's made such an impact. So thank you so much, Gina. I
Well,
appreciate your time, and your heart as a mother is just so evident that your kids come first, and that you have just made some really awesome decisions to help all of them shine. So thank you, Gina.
thank you for your time, and yeah, you guys have a great day.
I loved getting to talk with Gina, and I think that she is so right that taking a step back and allowing our kids to navigate their own emotions through difficulties is really one of the hardest things as a parent. Right now, let's continue the conversation with Dr. Harsh Trivedi. He is the CEO and a child psychiatrist from Sheppard Pratt. We were so fortunate to get to talk to Gina Chiles, and man, that family has really been on quite the roller coaster of extreme highs and then really low lows. So it was really interesting to talk to Gina about how she's walked with Jordan through some of those things as well. I guess you've been able to follow along a little bit with the Olympic controversy as well.
I know. I mean, you really just can't make these stories up, and it's you know, every person's journey is important. And I think if you didn't understand kind of what exactly was going on, it's really hard to even imagine that they're living through what they're living through right now.
Right. I thought Gina offered some great insight, though, in how she had handled it, because I've been really curious to ask her about how she has managed to keep Jordan encouraged through all of this. And she really talked a lot about Jordan, allowing Jordan to process in her own way. And really what I think is one of the most difficult things as a mom, and that's to take a step back and to be silent and not really use your words, opinions, and feelings that could impact your child even in a positive or negative way. Talk about that a little bit for me.
Sure. You know, I think that this is really the hard part of parenting, which is how do you let go enough so that your child actually gets to grow in the process? And by child, I will also include in a young adult child as well. But I think the hard part of that one truly is we learn through experience. We learn by trying more difficult things. And I would say similar to successes in sports and on the field, you know, there are things that come up in life where you're kind of challenged in different ways. And as a parent, the hardest thing to do is you never want your child to get hurt. But at the same time, for them to experience adulthood, to take on things that otherwise they need to develop skill sets for, you almost have to take that leap of faith that you've given them the right experiences, they have a level head on their shoulders, and more importantly, they're going to make the right decisions going forward. I think, you know, as any good mom, I'm sure will say, you kind of, you know, you let it happen. You're always scared, and you're kind of you're waiting there to catch them in case they fall. No different than when they were a toddler. But I think, you know, I think this particular situation is one where I don't think anyone could predict kind of the circumstances that were going on, which also makes it harder because there isn't like this track record of like, well, you know, 200 other kids have gone through exactly the same thing. It's a once in a lifetime situation, and there's a lot of pressure that goes both ways.
Is it completely normal for us moms, and I'm sure you associate with that even as a dad, to want to fix everything for our kids, even though maybe we shouldn't?
Absolutely, absolutely, right? And so we always want to use our wisdom, our experiences to impact a better life for our children, right? The hard part in this, though, is that for some kids, just because of their own temperament, their own development, their own way of learning, they might be more experiential. They may not get it when we explain it to them or say, hey, this is how it may work out. And there are just some life lessons that you have to kind of experience on your own. I will say, particularly for kids as they get into adolescence, young adulthood, relationships are a great example. You don't know the loss of having your first heartbreak until you have your first heartbreak. And I give that as an example because that applies in other realms of life too. It doesn't matter how much people explain it to you until you actually kind of have that experience. You can't make sense of it. And I think like that, as much as parents want to fix things or to even prevent them from happening, there are key moments in life where they have to do that when they're young to then be ready for the harder next struggle that's going to come when you may not be there to kind of guide them through the way.
Right. That's so good. Another thing Gina talked about, and I think that this is somewhat of a theme. You and I have had some incredible opportunities through this series that we've been doing with these high profile elite athletes. But she mentioned something that I thought the way she put it was very interesting. But she was talking about how so often with athletes, they develop athletically, physically before the emotional maturity may come along with it. And she even admitted that, they did everything they could to provide all of the opportunities to train physically, but the mental help that they ended up, needing and needed it along the journey. And then of course, through this experience they've been through most recently, she said that was an afterthought. And I'm sure that's a pattern that, you've seen or heard as you've talked to families who have been through these types of situations.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I would start off with is if you have a child that is competing at such a high level, whether it is sports, whether it's music, whether it's other things, you have to start off with they must have had some God-given talents that make them really good at whatever that activity is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, my child is in no way a Olympic athlete, but a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old who all of a sudden is like 5'10", that developmentally, like, okay, you might physically be this large, but you are clumsy and not able to kind of make other connections, right? So we see that all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's no different for an athlete that competes in the sense that because of the talents that they have combined with coaching and nurturing, they're performing at really high levels. Now, the only problem is when you spend so much time getting really good at something, there's always a trade-off. There are things that you don't have enough time to give attention to. And sometimes it is really that mental health piece. It is the psychological maturity. It's the psychological safety. It's the what do you do when things happen that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just also say when you're a gifted athlete and let's say you've been winning very often, that whole aspect of something not working out the right way is it may not have been a challenge that you had to face too many times.
Right.
And so I think all of that contributes in terms of how kids do and also how they respond. And I think that's a key thing, which is as a parent, you're more likely to address things that your kid struggles with. Well, if it's something that didn't come up, it also makes sense that you may not have thought about the mental health challenge or
Mm-hmm.
how do you maintain resilience if that's something that your kid didn't have to face earlier on.
What I love about these interviews with you is that you can take these interviews and conversations that we're all so fascinated with to learn more about it, but you help us apply them to everyday life and making sure that we all as parents are taking steps toward making sure our kids have, the best resources, that we know how to kind of help navigate along whatever our little journey may look like in comparison to these big ones. So thank you so much. And just remind us again about the resources that Shepherd Pratt offers.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the kind words. Shepherd Pratt, you can learn more about us by going to www.shepherdpratt.org. And I would say, regardless of what condition, what age group, what issue you're looking for more information about, it's all there on the website. And so glad to have these conversations and hoping it helps a lot of moms figure out what to do next.
Me too. Me too. So thankful. Appreciate you.
Thank you.